Well, that was the worst game of the season or worst day of the season so far, for sure. I know it started off really well, obviously. Entering today, the Padres were the best team in baseball based on record. But holy cow, what a bad day that was. Jackson Merrill goes on the IL. Oscar Gonzalez, the guy that gets called up to replace Merrill on the roster, comes in mid game, goes into left field because Croney gets hurt and he exits the game. So Iglesias is at second base. Oh, by the way, Iglesias was starting in left field because Yuli Gurriel's on the roster, and they wanted to get righties in the lineup. So you have Lockridge in center because Merrill can't play. Who's going to play left field? You put Iglesias, who hasn't played left field before, you put him there. What a day. But anyway, Merrill on the IL. Oscar comes in. First play, first ball that gets hit to him goes under his glove for a couple more runs to score. Padres obviously lose this, as you can see on the screen, 10-4. It started off good, but man, went bad real quick. And yeah, Dylan Cease, really bad, leaving a lot of pitches over the middle of the plate, hanging pitches. And I mean, you don't want either. But if I were to pick one or the other, would I rather have a walk fest or would I rather have someone just get clobbered? I'd probably rather have the guy get clobbered because at least you're throwing it over the plate. But both are really, really hard to watch. And that's what we watched today. Padres took the early lead. Do we have to talk about this game? I'm just like, do we have to actually talk about what happened in the game? I think what everyone is interested in or cares about is that Merrill's on the IL. Tatis is hurt. He exits the game. Crony's hurt. He exits the game. And it's like, are they just going to go right on the IL? What's happening here? We're waiting for the Mike Schilt update. So I may be stalling here just to wait to see when beat writers will say something. But yeah, in the meantime, I guess, yeah, let's just go over what happened here real quick. And I'll go live after the series tomorrow to talk about all these games and probably the latest on these injuries. But yeah, it was a good start. 3 runs put, and it's familiar, right? Padres, they put 3 runs on the board, I think, last night. And then they allow it right back. And this time it was 6 runs, though, in the bottom of the first. J.J. Bleday, 2-run double. Miguel Andujar, RBI single. Gio Urshela, 2 RBI double. Max Muncy, RBI single. And it's 6-3. And Dylan Cease actually didn't have that many pitches. I know he only went 4 innings, but I thought he was going to have probably more than 75-ish pitches or whatever it was at. 78. And 50 of his pitches were strikes. So you're like, okay, that's good. But here's the thing. They were hung in easy pitches to hit for major league hitters. So that's the problem. I think his velocity was still there. I want to say it was 96 as we got into that 4th inning with the fastball. Just wasn't able to locate good enough. These are major league hitters. Doesn't matter if you have the velocity. And then some of his off-speed pitches, those were getting hung as well. So yeah, just his ERA obviously shot up. And yeah, should I be concerned about Dylan Cease? There's been a couple of rough outings. I'm not going to hit the panic button right now. It is April 8th. What I care about most, just based on what's happening with some of these position players, is that he can come out of this healthy and everything's okay with his arm or anything else with his body. And it's just mechanical and he just wasn't on his night. If that's the case, all right, flush it. Let's move on. If it's something else, then yeah, we got an issue. Because obviously no Musgrove, no Darvish, no Matt Waldron. Got Vasquez starting tomorrow, and who knows what's going to happen there and could lose the series tomorrow. Who knows what the lineup's going to look like. And then, Cease and King have been a little bit up and down so far. And then Pavetta, I mean, yes, it was Chicago, so I do want to kind of flush that as well, but he didn't have his command. So I think Nick on Twitter, in one of my replies, he said, Nick Goulart 1 is the username. Now for the Schilt post-game commentary, which is what we're waiting for. Kind of a big one. If he says Tatis is having his left shoulder looked at, I'm getting high and breaking out the Ben and Jerry's. It's I think that's kind of how a lot of Padres fans feel tonight. Because, yeah, Tatis, he has and I By the way, go look on my Twitter, at Talking Friars, for the clips if you missed it or you weren't watching the game. Crony exits, and he wasn't able to run down to first base. He didn't. It's not like he fouled the ball off his leg or anything. He just couldn't run to first base, and he was able to walk to the clubhouse, which is in the outfield. But that's a whole lot different than, being able to run, and it sure didn't look like he was able to do that. So I don't know exactly what that injury is. We'll see if there's going to be an update from Schilt here post game, which is what I'm waiting for. And then Tatis, he swings, and it's a left shoulder. It's pretty clear left shoulder because he swings, one hand follow through, and he kind of, moves that left shoulder around and kind of like you could tell by his face as well, like, didn't feel great. And that's after obviously Merrill goes on the IL. So who's going to replace Merrill? Well, Oscar Gonzalez is on the roster. This could be a good tryout for him. If he can take advantage of it, he'll be the left fielder, I assume. Lockridge will be in center. And I say he'll be the left fielder against righties, or excuse me, against lefties. And then against righties, Hayward, probably for the right on left matchup, he would be the left fielder. But it's a little trial period because what if Gurriel continues to stink? Now, he got his second hit tonight and it drove in a run, 2 hits, couple of RBIs. But obviously, this is not the production that the Padres need. They need much better. And I don't want to just single out Gurriel because there's other guys, but, Gurriel he's hitting 105 to start the year. Hayward's another guy, obviously. But, yeah, you just need more for a guy if you're going to have him be the starting DH every time that a lefty's on the mound. And so once Merrill comes back, obviously you could put Lockridge in left, you put Merrill in center, and you could have Oscar DH. Or you could have Lockridge on the bench. You have you have Oscar in left field. How long of a leash are they going to give? Dennis Lynn was on Ben and Woods, I think, this morning or maybe yesterday, talking about Memorial Day is when teams kind of take a look at their rosters. But do the Padres really want to wait that long and I think that's too long. If Gurriel continues to struggle for that long, I mean, that's weeks and weeks and weeks. That's I can say, okay, yeah, first month, but a couple months into the year, I mean, that's too long. Especially if let's say Tatis, Cronenworth, and Merrill go on the IL, you're going to need more. You got to find that offensive impact. So, all right, let's see if we got updates here. Any update? And no update yet. Great. So I think I will just be stalling here and stalling here and stalling here and waiting and waiting and waiting. Because I do want to see what this update's going to be. But yeah, like as much as people have been down on Crony, obviously, we can't hit lefties and all that. Well, then I better not see a reaction from Padres fans if he goes on the IL. And the sky's falling if he goes on the IL. Because I've seen a lot of people be like, yeah, have Crony go on the bench. And it's like, all right, well, let's keep that same energy then if, he ends up not being in the lineup. And then Merrill, obviously, yeah, that's a big loss. I was surprised that Merrill went on the IL. For me, I was just like, all right, hamstring. You're playing the A's in a minor league ballpark. You have talent to go win. You have Cease on the mound today. That didn't work out well. But I'm like, all right, that's just give him the rest of the series. You have a day off on Thursday. That would give him 4 days off before the Colorado series, and he'll be ready to go. It's a hamstring. He'll be good. But according to Mike Schilt, he was saying pregame talking about how, yeah, it seemed like Merrill, I'm not quoting him, but essentially Merrill would be ready to go, it seems like, around the 10-day mark anyway, so might as well just put him on the IL, and you're not playing a man down, and you have give Oscar Gonzalez, or Gonzo, as Schilt says. That's his nickname, I guess. Give him an opportunity, and I'm good with that. Like, you don't want to see Merrill go on the IL, obviously. He's one of your best players. Middle of the lineup bat, but you got to realize that it is a long season. You have him under long-term contract as well. And does Merrill want to be playing? Of course he does. This guy, he is a baller. He eats, sleeps, breathes baseball. There's one guy I could pick on this Padres team. It's Merrill who does that, right? Um, so of course I'm not questioning. I'm not like saying, oh, he's he loves being on the IL here and taking this trip to the IL. It is a long season though, and so obviously the Padres and their training staff, they know more about the actual health of Merrill and how he's actually feeling. Because I would think if Merrill thought he could actually play, then he wouldn't go on the IL. But maybe he's not at that Manny point yet, where Manny essentially gets to dictate when it seems like he would dictate whether he goes on the IL or not. Maybe the Padres are just overriding Merrill and be like, hey, because I doubt Merrill wants to go on the IL. Just override him and be like, hey, nope, you're going on the IL. It's a long season. I know you don't want to, but we don't want this to turn into a lingering issue. And then you come back and in a couple of games, you're in center field and you try to go run one down the gap, or you try to steal a bag, or there's a wild pitch and you explode off that one of those legs, one of those hamstrings, and you feel fine going in, and then you do something that you're not expecting to do, and it turns into a worse thing. Because you don't want to be out a month. I'd rather be out a week and a half than be out a month or more than that. And these things can linger and linger and linger. So rest it. I feel like this is something that you rest it, you do your rehab, which is what Merrill is doing. Then you'll be back and it'll be good. Now, what are the Padres going to do in the meantime? Because, yeah, there was some offense. It was good to see Manny homer tonight as he went 1 for 5. Bogarts had a couple of hits, Gurriel with the RBI. But if you don't have, I assume they wouldn't have Tatis or Crony tomorrow, and you don't have Merrill. So what is this lineup going to look like tomorrow? Arise leading off, and then who's hitting second? You're going to have Oscar in there, probably playing right field. Lockridge in center, Hayward in left. Arise, Manny, Bogarts, Iglesias, Sheets as the DH, probably. Diaz maybe catching. It's going to be interesting to see what the lineup's going to look like. Any update yet from Shields as I am stalling here? No Schilt postgame? I'm not watching the Padres TV postgame broadcast, but I just saw John Schaefer tweet no Shilty postgame. So did Padres TV just end it right there? And I would think why is because Schilt is probably checking on Crony and checking on Tatis before he goes and addresses the media to see how they are. But if I was Schilt, to be honest, like, who cares what the media is? You know, it's not my job. Like, okay, I'll address the media. I'll just say it's too early. We just got done with the game, guys. They're being evaluated right now. I have nothing to tell you. That's what I would say, and then just move on and get your night done with and prepare for tomorrow's game. Scanlon said no Mike Schilt. All right. This Nick guy just replied to me. Scanlon, no Mike Schilt, not ominous at all. Stalling while conferencing with AJ. Fuck. Weed and Ben and Jerry's it is. So that's the mindset of some Padres fans tonight. While I wait for Schilt, by the way, Tatis. I forgot to mention this about just the injuries, obviously, and what he's had to deal with. You see it as the left shoulder, and it's just like, yeah, that is not what I want to see because he dealt with the subluxations, obviously, and we have just been waiting. Okay, when is he going to have that full season? No suspension, no 130, 140. Now, maybe that's how many games he would play so that they would keep him healthy. But, like, play a season, no IL stint. What does that season look like? Because going into this year, remember, he was telling the media that this was the best that he had felt since 2021. I think going into 2021, maybe. Because then he had dealt with subluxations and he still had over 40 homers with like one arm, but um, it was like, all right, great, awesome, love it. And then the start that he got off to out of the leadoff spot. And we know what he can do defensively in right field. Just right out of the gate, it is someone that the opposing pitcher does not want to face. Right out of the gate, you gotta face Fernando, who could jump on you on one pitch and you're down 1-0. That's probably pretty scary. I know these guys gotta have confidence and all that, but it's not someone I want to be facing. So, I mean, obviously it goes without saying, Tatis is huge for this lineup, and him, let's say he's out for any period of time here, what that does to the lineup, instead of having a Rise hit second, and you have Rise hit first, and then, I mean, obviously no Merrill, no Croney. These are, let's say it's Tatis, Merrill, Croney. That's three guys that are, top six, whatever. Yeah, top six in your order. One of them's a leadoff. One of them can hit third, fourth. Should have won Rookie of the Year last year. So, yeah. For all the fans, by the way, that I've seen on social media, like, oh, he's always hurt, play a full season to, like, earn your contract or whatever. He obviously wants to be out there. It's something that you just can't control sometimes. He swang, is that a word? He swung the bat like he's done a one-handed swing. He's done that a lot, and nothing has happened. So sometimes it just happens, and that's baseball, and that's his just history, and everybody's bodies are different. So it's unfortunate. It sucks. It's not like he went down and, because he didn't like go down right there on that swing, but that was just the swing that the Padres broadcast showed. Like, hey, this swing here, you could see him not feel too well, and then they showed him obviously walking to the clubhouse in between innings. It's just one of those where it's like, man, I hope he doesn't turn into, be like a Mike Trout, but Trout at least, like, he won all these MVPs and the All-Stars, and um, let me actually, yeah, I'm going to look at Mike Trout at the start of his career, because obviously he got the big contract, and again, this is like, it's not his fault. I love Mike Trout. This guy, the last thing he wants is to be hurt and not be able to help his team, especially with the lack of, playoff success that the Angels have had. But yeah, you look at him, start of his career, 139 games, 157, 157, 159, 159. And then from there, it's been up and down, 114, 140, 134, but then 53, 36, 119, then 82, last year 29. So there's a lot of consecutive seasons there where he played a bulk of games, majority of the games, and had the 10-5 WAR season, 8-9, 7-7 WAR, 9. That's 5 years in a row that he led the American League in Baseball Reference WAR. How many MVP? 3 MVPs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 consecutive seasons, finishing top 5 in MVP. Silver Sluggers all those years, I think, almost all those years. All-Stars, obviously, like, amazing talent. And Tatis, we know, amazing talent. I'm not trying to say Tatis is Mike Trout, but you just think of, like, star player for our franchise, big contract, and man, it brings us so much joy when he's on the field, and he's such a talented player. And the injuries, it's just every year something, you just have to expect that something is going to happen, and he's going to miss some sort of time. Okay, Schilt on Tatis. This is via Jeff Sanders. Thank you, Jeff. He did go out, just a little discomfort on the slide at third. Okay, because he was down a little bit there on the slide at third, but I thought he was just there resting. I didn't really see him hurt there. But Schilt says, checking out medically, everything seems to be intact, in good shape, and strength good, and he's not overly concerned. So we err on the side of caution tonight and we'll evaluate it. So that makes me feel a little bit better, but not a lot. I mean, let's see when he's in the lineup next because he's not overly concerned. That you didn't say he's not concerned at all. They erred on the side of caution with Merrill, and then they ended up putting him on the IL when I thought he was going to miss maybe a few games and then be back for Colorado on Friday. So that's good that it doesn't seem like it's a subluxation. Everything seems to be intact, good shape, strength is good. That's great. That's definitely encouraging, but I'm not going to sit here and throw a party, seeing that quote. And yes, it is his shoulder, as we imagined, as we thought. Left shoulder. As for Crony, I'm not seeing any update as of now. So I'll be back for that. All right, so I do have an update now. Heard on the 97.3 The Fan post-game show, the audio from Schilt. Schilt didn't seem like super enthusiastic, obviously. The Padres just lost. It was a really bad game. He's got star players that he doesn't know the future of them. He just had Merrill go on the IL. And so, yeah, it wasn't like upbeat, but he's saying not overly concerned about Crony, not overly concerned about Tatis, shoulder. Um, Kevin Acee asked about the swing, but then Schilt went back to the slide at third of when he felt it. With Crony, it was cramping from 2 days ago from getting hit in the ribs. And again, not overly concerned there. So, again, like, it didn't seem like the Padres were overly concerned about Merrill, and it still seems like they're not, but then he went on the IL. So, can never know. I'm not going to like overreact tonight on this because we don't know. I mean, Schilt doesn't know. Maybe Tatis and Crony don't even know about their status, moving forward here, at least for the near future. But I'm just laying it out there for you what Schilt said, and all that. But yeah, like going back to Tatis and him staying healthy. Let's stay healthy because we know the impact that he can provide. And I mentioned Mike Trout earlier. Obviously, Tatis doesn't have the years that Trout has. Trout has like a 7-year head start on him from when he debuted. But you look at Tatis, and the most games that he's played in a season was 2023, coming off the suspension, when he played 141 games, and he had. I think he was still like regaining strength because he had off-season surgeries, right? And so he had 25 homers there, 78 ribbies. 2021 was his best year, 130 games, 6.6 WAR season, 42 homers, led the National League with that, 97 RBIs, had a OPS of 975. Like, and so far this year, like he had a 997 OPS going into tonight's game. He was off to a good start. Some would say a great start out of that leadoff spot, and the spark and just the weapon that he is on the bases and at the plate. If he can stay, like, imagine if he could stay healthy and produce 30, 40 homer seasons. And it's not even just about the home runs, but let's add 25 stolen bases every year and 30 homers, and him stay healthy and play right field with the arm that he has in right and the range that he has in right. He stay healthy, consistently for 3-4 years. Obviously, we want it to be longer than that, but just for starters, obviously, let's do it back-to-back years, a few years in a row, and what that would do for this Padres team and how that could really help them stay at that 90-plus win mark year after year after year. But him going out, now that obviously tests the Padres' depth because now you got Lockridge center with Merrill on the IL. Don't know. I'm not saying Tatis is going on the IL, but you see that today and it doesn't make you feel great. So, again, I don't want to overreact again. Like, we don't know, but I don't assume that he's going to be in the lineup tomorrow. So what is that going to look like? You know, Oscar is in right, Hayward in left. And then, you have Verizon there. You have Manny, you have Bogarts, Iglesias, Diaz or Maldonado, Sheets, and you run with that. But now, like the protection for Manny, we're like, because our pitchers afraid of Xander Bogarts. They're not afraid of him nearly as much as they would be if, um, I shouldn't say it that way. They're not as afraid of him as Manny, right? Or maybe even a Rise, especially if like someone's on base. I know Rise isn't going to get you with like power, but he'll get on base. And a Rise on base to start a game, or him up with nobody on, let's say, that's not as scary as Tatis on second base after he just stole second base or doubled or whatever, and then Arise is up. Arise is way more scarier there than just nobody's on. He, singles, whatever. Okay, we can get a double play still. He's not going to steal second base. You know what I'm saying? There's just it's obviously a big impact. So I'm going to shut up. I'm going to stop talking. Kind of vague updates, but that's what you should have expected because the game just happened. They just exited the game, a couple hours ago. And hopefully it is just cramping for Crony. Because if he's out, then you've got Iglesias playing every day. And then obviously that goes into your depth on the bench. And I thought we've seen some good moments from Crony so far this year. So yeah, all right. I said I was going to stop talking, so I'll stop talking.